We're back! Fantasy Football Live, ladies and gentlemen. You hear that?
Live? The name of the show is Live?
Fantasy Football Preview is live. We're counting down Draft Day 2014 for fantasy football in the NFL and just here, and we're back, and we got us all. And look at us. The whole gang. We did it.
Half hour late, but we did it.
We're here.
It took a little finagling and rescheduling and some working with some divas, but that's what you got to deal with when you want to get a good show off.
All of it my fault. 100% of it.
What are you gonna do? Well, it's the first show of the season. We'll work this stuff out, and we'll get through this. We'll get through this. So, all right, guys. So, how was everyone's summer?
Boring. What do you do? What can you do without football?
Nothing at all.
Dream
I never-
about football.
I never actually left. I just sat at this desk for 6 months waiting.
Well,
And I wasn't going. I was with you.
What?
Not good.
Someone should have set up some sort of Madden fantasy league or something.
Oh,
That's a billion-dollar idea.
Oh wait. Well, we're here.
Well, now that we're all together, I can tell you that idea was great, but you needed a ton of. That took so long to do every week, to sim every game individually, run through every stat individually, tally up each stat for each team. Oh boy, it was too much.
That's right.
Too much. So my apologies to everybody.
No apologies.
Quit
Because
the team because my team was the
fantasy
best.
football back, and real football is back. So
Real
there's
football.
no having to simulate football anymore on some video game. So we're here and we're good and everything's great and all is right with the world again. So let's just dive right into it. Our one goal this year, ladies and gentlemen, is to keep this show short. That's something we were terrible at last year. Our babbling mouths, mainly mine, but and too many mentions of the name Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, dragged the show out a little bit. That's just my opinion. But so we're gonna do our best to keep it short and sweet and get you all the information you need to put out the optimal fantasy lineup every week. And this show is a little different. This is our draft special. So we're going to look ahead to the drafts, which some of you may have already completed, which, if that's the case, sucks that you didn't wait for us.
Yeah, turn off the show now.
Just walk away.
It also sucks that you would do your draft before preseason even starts. Injuries happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're here to help. We'll maybe predict some injuries, I guess. I don't know, but we'll. For those that haven't,
Going down.
we're that good.
That's very dark.
Double leg injury for Peyton Manning. Both knees pop out of the skin.
Career over. He should have retired.
If any of you guys don't have HBO out there, and you spoilers, just to let you know, first episode of Hard Knocks, Steven Jackson was already injured, so
Yes.
definitely better to wait.
Yes.
Wait for your.
Made my players to avoid list.
Our draft is probably going to be a week before the season, if that.
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe whenever Mark gets his horse rolling. So, but anyway, we're here. We're ready to go. So we got a little show rundown. We're actually organized this year, and we got points that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get through them, and we're going to move. So I guess just to start off, guys, I know we did a draft preview show, way too early draft preview show back before the playoffs even started last year. And I'm wondering if you guys remember anything or learned anything from how you did stuff last year, how you drafted in 2013, and sort of what you're going to apply to this year.
I have one rule. Well, no, I have more than one rule, but I have one main rule, and that's stay far away from Doug Martin. Which is also paired to another rule that I have, is that if I draft one person and I have high hopes for him, and he fails conclusively, I never draft him again. Cut off. That's my rule.
You're dead to me.
Dead to me.
You hold grudges. You hold fantasy grudges.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Carolina's back.
D'Angelo Williams.
Yes, D'Angelo Williams let me down 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now.
I'm pretty sure you drafted him like every year. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's how the rules started. I drafted him 2 years in a row, and both years were miserable. So.
I'm the opposite. It's just arrogance. If I keep getting burned by someone, I'll draft him again.
He's bound to bounce back.
I'll still draft Steven Jackson this year. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm like the garbage collector, man. I just pick up everybody else's trash. I was like, hey, I remember that one year Michael Turner was like the number 2 running back in the league. Come here, Michael Turner. I mean, even though he's not playing anymore or in the league, I still want to draft him because he has that potential.
I remember that. We have this conversation pretty much every season. Is that you trust the old heads more than the new young bucks?
Yep, absolutely.
Like,
that's a curse at running back.
Not to bring baseball into this, but that's like the Phillies. That's what killed the Phillies, my friend. Holding on to old names that you think are going to do well for you.
Yep.
So I'll tell you from experience, it does not work. So mine, I think, I don't know if you guys remember, I was heavy on the quarterbacks when we previewed the draft way too early, and I think something I just in looking at the draft field this year. If it depends on where I land, that's what I'm going to base my strategy on. If I'm in the top half of the draft, I think obviously you're going to go running back because there's those 4 or 5 guys that are going to get you. They're going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bottom half, I think it's a little more wide open, and I could see myself going wide receiver or quarterback depending on how far down in the draft I am in that first round. So, and from our little the draft that we did, Mark, the name's slipping my mind. What was it?
Mock draft?
Mock draft. There we go. That's what I couldn't think of. The mock draft that we did,
Here to support you, Cat.
I landed. Thank you. I was number 2 overall, and I drafted McCoy. But I mean, that draft was crazy. So that's something. If you guys haven't done it, and if you didn't watch that show, you can go watch us try to work our way through a mock draft. Do plenty of those to get ready for this year. If you can't even get anything out of them, they're just fun to do to see how people think in terms of fantasy drafts. So they're interesting. They're awesome. Fun to do. They're really fun to do.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like another strategy, and I don't know if besides being a garbage collector, which I said on air to everybody, which is not too flattering, something that I've decided to do this year is I've always been like running back. Like even if I was like drafted 12th, because other fantasy analysts say, hey, wide receiver's crazy deep. So just you could wait to get a wide receiver. I think this year I'm adopting the mentality of pick your studs up at the skill positions like running back and wide receiver, like AJ Green or Megatron. Even if like that you can get someone down the line, you to have a person that can win you single-handedly a week is just such a luxury.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I tried to do in the mock draft. Now that I know the word, I'm going to use it a lot. In the mock draft that we did, I mock drafted every single position to make sure I had my needs filled. So I drafted my running back, and then I waited next time around. I got my receiver and quarterback, and then went from there and started building depth at the position. So that was how I did it. Mark didn't like my strategy.
I did not. Actually, we talked about that on the show, and you don't really want to like fit the pegs in the holes as you go. It's just you keep drafting guys you like down the board. You don't flinch. If you need that second running back, you be a man and you just keep taking those wide receivers until the running back comes around.
I have an off-the-wall idea for a strategy that I think I'm a little too chicken to actually pull off myself. But pulling all of your men for week 1, so then you get the first pick for waivers, and you get the stud who has to step in for the injured back who goes
That's
down.
Interesting. That's an interesting strategy.
Take one loss, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme, and then you get a stud.
Problem is they don't always materialize week 1. I think
it's true. It's a gamble.
What was the Cowboys wide receiver, Rob? You got like two years ago off waivers. He got like 2 touchdowns and like 140 yards.
Williams. God. Is that Terrence Williams?
Yeah, I think it was Terrence Williams, and then he went to crap after that.
Wasn't Lacy like that too?
Yeah.
No.
He got drafted.
Yeah, Eddie Lacy was taken.
You're thinking Julius Thomas was the big one last year.
Thomas. Hillis was one a couple years
Hillis.
Oh,
Didn't
man.
pan out last year. I'll
No,
vouch.
he sucks now, but he was awesome. He was a fantasy monster that year when
That's
he was.
what got him the cover. Got him the cover of
Right,
Madden.
he's a
And
cover.
look what happened.
The curse struck.
Oh
Rob,
man.
Rob, I got a strategy for this year that directly contradicts what you said about the quarterbacks all last year, and it's kind of crazy because I found out that the stereotypical running quarterbacks who make a lot of big plays with their legs. Well, if you look like their rookie years, like someone like Kaepernick, the 13 games he started his first year wasn't his rookie year, but first games he started he had 5 rushing touchdowns,
Yeah.
as opposed to in a full 16 games his next year he had 4 touchdowns. Cam Newton was even worse. His rookie year he came in starter 2011, 14 rushing touchdowns. 2012, 8. 2013, 6. RG3, 2012 rookie year, 7 rushing touchdowns. 2013, 0. Now I understand he was injured, but what I have come to strategize is that rookie quarterbacks that make plays with their legs are going to do that more often their rookie year whenever they get thrown in the mix. But then once they learn offenses, are more comfortable, they're going to do more work with their arm than with their legs. Even though you may have these wide eyes and say, oh, he got so many touchdowns. I wouldn't believe it. I'm sticking away from all running quarterbacks this year. I'm going to try to take like a lottery ticket in like the 9th round with like a Johnny Manziel or Teddy Bridgewater, whoever's starting, and then sure up with a semi-decent quarterback like Phillip Rivers. So that's just what I found.
That's your philosophy?
That's my philosophy. Yep.
I would say to your point about running quarterbacks, like touchdowns in general tend to vary from year to year, and a lot of that is because, like, if you think about it, like red zone opportunities present themselves in different ways, and maybe like some QB sneak or something's working a lot, but maybe like next year a coordinator is running a lot of like fade patterns and things like that.
Yeah.
Like touchdowns are weird and they're not super predictable even for like running backs and receivers.
Yeah, defense just figure guys out. They adjust their scheme of defending them, and then that guy has to adjust. So look out for year 3. Who knows?
I will say something, since I didn't really chime in too much with what I learned from that mock draft. The biggest thing I learned is that I'm supposed to be some like magical wizard from the future that's going to know when somebody's going to test positive for drugs.
Character issues. You have to worry about that, Mark.
We'll get into him. We'll save him for a little bit later. But moving along to our next item here on our agenda for the show. Number 1 overall pick this year. There's 3 guys that sort of seem to be in the talk, and it could be either one. I think the 3 that I'm talking about: McCoy, Peterson, and Jamal Charles. So I'm wondering, of those 3, if you guys were number 1, maybe one of you ends up being number 1, so maybe you don't want to spoil it, but who would you go with?
I got to go with Jam Chaz. I mean, we've had a year to reflect on his freak season, and I know he ended super hot and like crazy amounts of points he threw up, but still, I mean, like I said, out of all those guys, I think that he's the type that can win you a game single-handedly. I mean, Peterson's done it for how many years, but he eventually has to just break down with all the wear and tear they're putting on him. And McCoy, which I kind of called last year, not really, but I asked the Philly guys if they knew of any potential competition, and they just added Darren Sproles. So who knows how many touches that takes away from him. So at this point in time, I think James Chaz is the more solid of the number 1s.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Last year, I probably would have suggested staying away from him, and I would have been wrong. But because of Andy Reid, and he didn't run with McCoy that much when he had McCoy in it as a weapon. But hey, he proved us wrong, and Jam Chaz went nuts last year. So yeah, I would probably take him number 1.
That's fair.
I think I would do the opposite and take McCoy. And you said 3. I would probably argue a 4th in there, just on personal preference. I put Forte in the discussion too. And I think for me it'd be between McCoy and Forte.
We're talking
Oh,
overall first. Overall first, or are we just talking about running
Yeah.
back?
First overall.
I put Peyton up there.
You put Peyton.
Oh, get out of
Peyton
here.
up there. He had
Get
the.
out of here.
What is he? He is, according to ESPN. Hold on, let me see. He's 8. But I mean, coming
I think
off the
8's
season,
too high.
I don't think so. I disagree. He had. I'm against taking a quarterback early. There's only a couple QBs that fit into that. Aaron Rodgers is one. Peyton's one. Drew Brees is probably another.
Where's Nick Foles fall?
What?
Where's Nick Foles fall?
I wouldn't take him first because no one's going to take him first.
Yeah, no.
You can get him later. But
Definitely.
but he's a top tier QB for
I
fantasy.
think your argument's interesting. Peyton, I love the points,
Yeah.
and if he continued, if he had another season like that, it would be absolutely worth it.
I just saw Seth roll his eyes. You're on
Okay,
camera?
yeah, I have some stuff here too.
Hold on.
I'm
I'll
getting-
roll them too. They're rolling.
Yeah, I'm getting vertigo here.
That's not how you roll your eyes.
getting
but imagine
nauseous
I
here,
roll
rolling
in,
eyes.
that's
There's
what I
no
do.
reason. There's no reason to sleep on Peyton. He's coming off the historically the greatest year for a quarterback of all time.
He lost his wide receivers. He lost Eric Decker. Who did he
He
gain?
makes wide receivers better.
Yeah, he still has Welker and he still has Thomas. Both Thomases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's enough.
Hold on. I'm talking-
Seattle
He has
exposed him
Emmanuel
in the
Sanders.
Super
He has
Bowl.
Emmanuel Sanders. now.
Seattle exposed them in the Super Bowl. You think like all other 30 teams in the
Seattle
NFL
exposed
weren't
them.
watching the Super
Whoa.
Bowl?
But not all of those teams have the high-powered defense that the Seahawks have.
I think that they exploited something.
Here's my argument. If
They
you just
also
go by
have-
pure data, like
Emmanuel-
fantasy points scored last 3 years. Peyton Manning last year, 410. Year before that, 311. 2 years in a similar offense, 100-point variation in point output. The first year he was worse and he was a year younger. What makes you think that
That
he's
was
a year
his-
older now?
Was that his first time with Denver?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Same basic offense. They were really good that year too.
Doesn't he have a new neck?
Have a mesh.
Didn't he get a new neck this year or something?
yes.
He did a Kobe Bryant Germany treatment. They injected him with all kinds of stem cells and magic liquids and
He
stuff.
now has the neck of a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why he's so good.
Yeah, but he's one, not even hard hit, one slap in the helmet away from being done forever.
That's right. They have a good line. They still have a good line.
He'll be fine. I think he's fine. Like I
I
said,
would take Breeze over him.
if
You're out of your mind.
it's interesting. If I was in the bottom half of the first round, I think that makes it a more interesting pick. I don't. Oh man, like I said at the top of the show, I don't know that if I was in that first couple picks, I don't know that I could go quarterback. But for
Well,
me,
here's how,
for me, it would be McCoy. So it's a little bit of homer talk there. But the other thing is looking at the strength of schedule of the Eagles versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs have, I think, the 7th overall strength of schedule, and the Eagles are down in the 20th. So the Chiefs have a much harder schedule. The defenses they face, they're going to have Denver twice. San Diego is all right. And then they're playing, San Fran, Seattle this year, which I know the Eagles are doing the same. But just the Patriots are in there for the Chiefs. So there's just defenses that they're going up against this year that are much better against the run than the Eagles. The Eagles get the NFC East 6 times this year. So, and they're all terrible defenses. So I could see, no matter whether he's splitting time or not, McCoy's a threat. He's a dual threat, just like Sproles, but he's a younger Sproles and a quicker and shadier Sproles, if you will. And I like it. So if I had number 1, I think I would go McCoy, personally.
Plus, it's nice to have a homer as your first pick.
It is. It is. So
I do the exact opposite.
let's be real though.
I hedge my bets, man. I know Steelers, all Browns, and Patriots.
Oh,
if I do good, then that's good. If I don't do good, then that means the Patriots are doing bad.
God. So I guess moving on, unless you guys have anything else on number 1.
Nope.
No. Mark, you look like you want to talk.
It's too long of a discussion.
Good.
It's a very long-winded.
Save it for another show. Oh man, so this is a tough one every year. People look for their sleepers. You know, who's a guy that's gonna that
Sleepers.
might be a little bit under the radar that could bust out and have a big year this year. So who wants to take the first crack at a sleeper?
DeAndre Hopkins,
DeAndre Hopkins.
From? Where does he play? Position?
wide receiver, Houston.
Okay.
Why?
No follow-up statement. Just pick him.
Pick him. All right, Mark's gonna pick DeAndre Hopkins, and he's sticking with it for no reason whatsoever.
You're about to say no apparent reason.
For
No, in all
apparent-
honesty, he was pretty decent as a rookie. 800 receiving yards. I enjoy watching him play. Like, he passes the eye test to me. I think he's pretty good. And also, Andre Johnson is aging, and I think his name carries a little more weight than his actual performance. And he's been in that, like, it's been in trade discussions too. So I think there's a lot more opportunity for Hopkins there. And there's no Matt Schaub anymore. So it's a clear downgrade at quarterback no matter what. But I still like him.
I guess. Good.
I was gonna say I have an interesting one. That he's not a name that you're not gonna know, but he's on a new team and playing a new position. Dexter McCluster is getting a second chance at an NFL career, if you will, in Tennessee this year. He's switching from wide receiver to quarterback. Or I'm sorry, wide receiver to running back.
I was gonna say, that's a scoop.
Whoa. Get that. Wide receiver to running back. He was in the Chiefs system, returning punts, and he would get you maybe a nice score there every once in a while, and didn't really do much with that speed in the wideout position. But he's going to Tennessee, where he's got Sean Green in front of him right now. Who knows if it works out that maybe he leapfrogs him. But he's going to a team where my only concern there is that Wisenhunt's the coach now, and if you look at his last couple of years, minus his years in Arizona, the team in terms of total attempts of running the ball were in like the low 20s and even a couple years ranked last in the league. But he going to being an offensive coordinator at San Diego, they ranked 6th in rushing attempts and actually had a decent year running the ball. So maybe that carries over to Tennessee and he realizes that I have to run the ball to be a success.
Hey, when you have John Skelton, though, you want to air it out. You can't really get that.
Right, exactly. So, but no, I think
Isn't
McCluster
McCluster small?
He's small. He's small but quick. That's the thing. So
Here's my only kind of argument, and I feel like I have a stake in this because I've owned McCluster about 8 times in his career.
Oh, yeah. I think we all have. Mark, come
Yeah,
on.
he started out as a running back, and he's like one of those like third down back type guys that doesn't actually run it. He's kind of like a poor man's Sproles, and they moved him to the slot receiver. And I guess the issue I have is he played under Todd Haley and then under Andy Reid. Those are like the 2 guys you want to be under to like excel as that kind of player, and it just didn't happen for him.
Like a Wes Welker-esque. Yeah.
but as a wideout, so it's a new
He
position.
was like a slot guy, but he did a lot of like running back type stuff too. He wasn't just like exclusively a wide receiver. He got drafted as a running back.
That's why they're sleepers, though. I mean, you're not expecting much out of them, and they could.
I hope he does succeed though. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his
I'll own
last
him again.
4 years, he only had 6 touchdowns total as a wide receiver, and 1 as a running back in the last 4 years. So, I mean, if anyone's due to break out and be a sleeper, I think it's him. So,
I struggle with this a little bit between what's hey it's gonna be a boom year for him or he's a breakout year versus a sleeper. So I'll tell you my 2 sleepers first, and then I'll say this other guy, and maybe it's in the wrong category, and I apologize. But Ryan Grant, a Washington wide receiver. Apparently, Jay Gruden said that he's every time he has the ball, he seems like he's making a play, and his name's Nile Davis. He's the backup for Jamal Charles. I don't know if you guys remember him from last year. He got a couple punt returns, and he played in their last game whenever they were resting the starters. And he ended up having a really productive game, like a touchdown or 2, and over 100 yards. And I could just see Andy Reid doing like a timeshare type deal in Kansas City this year. But the last person I'll say is Cordell Patterson from Minnesota. So I don't know if that's necessarily a sleeper, but he just looked Josh Cribbs-esque with a ball in his hands, and I think he's a big wide receiver, and they don't really have anyone in Minnesota to throw the ball to. I could really see him emerging as like a number 1 this year. So
that's one you can mention him again in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a rebuttal to that too in a second. That's a little longer, but
okay.
Just like the whole idea. It's interesting now because there's so much information out there. Like any guy that you kind of think is a sleeper is no longer a sleeper because everyone knows about them.
Yeah.
Because I love Patterson too, and another guy like Andre Ellington. I just sat there all last season like, keep that up there because I'm not going to forget about this guy. And now if you look at Matthew Berry's like rankings, he's like a mid-third round pick. Like this story's out.
Really?
And that's how it is. Yeah, like
Ellington from Arizona,
like a 5th round pick now. Like everyone is wise to this kind of stuff, and I think it shifts then because like the true sleepers now are like name guys that are like people get down on for a year and just like forget about.
Yeah.
And if you have a second, I have a very quick mystery player A versus mystery player B that I might be kind of fun to see.
Hold on, let's get your sleeper.
Sorry, Max.
Okay. All right, I have 2. I'm like Seth. It's a fine line between a sleeper and a breakout. So I have 2. So the first one is pretty much just undervalued. He's going to be undervalued because of an injury last year. Randall Cobb. I said he's going to be a superstar this year, as if he wasn't last time. But take him in the 2nd round. He didn't throw up a lot of points on a lot of rankings. He's not high up because he didn't score a lot of fantasy points last year because of the injury. But he's going to be a powerhouse. Get him in the 2nd round.
Did you have him last year?
In one league, not our league.
Oh.
A different league I did, though. And also, I mentioned him earlier, Emmanuel Sanders went from Pittsburgh to Denver. And historically, Peyton elevates the game of his whole receiving core.
Yeah.
So I think Emmanuel Sanders will have a very good year. If you can get him in like 4th, 5th, which you probably will be able to, pick him up.
I agree. I don't even think he's good, but I think he'll have okay numbers.
All right, what's your mystery player, Mark?
All right, let's do this. This is fun. So I will share 2 players, player A, player B. As you can see, player A, 1121 rush yards, 350 receiving, 10 total touchdowns. Player B, 1077 rush yards, 345 receiving, 10 total touchdowns. Now, would you 3 agree with me that these players are basically indistinguishable from one another?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let's see who player A versus player B is.
I'll take the bait.
I'll play your game, you rogue.
Player A, DeMarco Murray, ranked number 13 by Matthew Berry. Player B, Chris Johnson, number 58.
I
And
had DeMarco Murray last year.
you can notice the difference between the two. The numbers are essentially the same. I know the situations have changed over the offseason, but I do this a lot. Like Chris Johnson, I just think like, oh, he's lazy. He doesn't do anything. He got his contract and kind of quit.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just get this negative idea of him, and I think you subconsciously like bump him down a little more than you should. And I thought he had like 600 rushing yards and like 2 touchdowns. Like he didn't have like a great year, but that's still essentially equivalent to like a top 3 round running back.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think like 12 running backs, 1,000 yards.
My only knock against him this year is that he's going to an organization where it seems like players go to just wash away and be forgotten about.
Absolutely.
Well, are you,
Sounds like a sleeper.
well, Mark,
He's a sleeper, so that would be perfect. So
Mark, it sounds kind of like you're suggesting that Barry isn't looking at the stats when he's making his right.
Well,
But that's closer to like public opinion, though. That's not like that far off. If you look at a lot of rankings, it's similar.
you see who's trending up, who's trending down. Like if a rookie did that versus a person that's been in the league for like 6 years, 7 years, especially a running back, you would definitely say, well, that the rookie, has more room to grow than a rookie or than a guy at the end of his career. So a running back, needless to say, at the end of his career. So.
well, I think that's Seth, you said it there, who's trending up, who's trending down. That's a good segue to our picks on who's trending down.
No problem, Cap. Anytime you need it, sir.
Look who the new favorite is.
Appreciate that.
No problem, Skip.
So who do you guys think is who's your pick to cool down this year and had a great year last year and maybe won't have put up such gaudy numbers this year?
Well, this one is it's kind of a player to avoid. He didn't really cool down because he was worthless last year, and that's Doug Martin. Stay away from Doug Martin.
Trash collector's
I like
salivating over here, Max. Let me just tell you that.
Take him. Have fun with him.
I can't wait.
And also, the other person I would say to kind of avoid who's going to have a kind of an off year, I'd say, is Ray Rice. Ray Rice seems like more attractive than he is, especially because he's getting all kinds of attention right now.
So many things can be said.
I know, it's funny, isn't it?
What kind of crazy world do you live in that Ray Rice is attractive for beating up his wife?
No. Well, because he's like, oh yeah, Ray Rice. Yeah, I've heard he's been in the news. So, like, he's on people's minds. So like, and he's only suspended for 2 games.
Any publicity is good publicity.
But like, even if you get him late in the draft, still don't take him. I don't think he's going to have a good year. He didn't have a great year last year. So stay away from Ray Rice, because he's also just a terrible person. So just
I agree. Second.
Stay away from Ray Rice.
Yeah.
Well, both
literally and figuratively, yes.
Yes, in real life, stay away from Ray.
Oh man, Mark.
I was laughing at the joke and I briefly forgot. Okay. Definitely Larry Fitzgerald. I hate where he's sitting right now, like 4th round. It's because, well, it's on my mind because Rob and I would discuss that at length during the draft
funny
review.
story is that so far both guys that have been picked to be trending down have landed on my mock draft team.
And I'm sorry to report I had to give Rob a C- for his mock draft. And that hurt you more than it hurt me, let me tell you. I'll go with a fun one because we don't mess around in the show. AJ Green. And not... Oh no, you had this too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and it's not like 600 receiving yards falling off a cliff, but like he gets in the conversation for late 1st round, and I don't know. I was for a while thought of him as safer than Calvin Johnson.
I think he went 2nd round in our mock draft, didn't he?
Yeah, like high 2nd, low 1st.
Yeah.
But I think I even said, and I don't know why I was thinking this, that he's like safer than Calvin Johnson because he's like less likely to get hurt, things like that. But like the offense is getting completely revamped.
Yep.
Gruden's gone.
Exactly.
That's Hugh Jackson, who I'm pretty sure sucks. I don't think anybody can prove me wrong, and he also prefers like a run-based offense.
I agree.
Now Dalton's got that contract too. Is he going to keep slinging it like he used to when he wasn't a made man?
Who's going to have the bigger year, Julio Jones?
Julio Jones, without a question.
I put them in the same tier. That's why I asked.
Julio Jones before his injury was a freak. He was a monster.
But
and AJ Green's offensive coordinator is Gonzo. Their defensive coordinator is Gonzo. That team is going to be a wreck this year. Stay away from any Bengals.
It's going to be crazy.
I think that whole team is going to be a disaster.
And Marvin Lewis isn't like this, Andy Reid of a coach where he doesn't need his coordinators. Like, for the most part, Cincinnati has struggled to really do anything
Win a playoff game, Cincinnati.
Damn it, Mark. Do you mind if I throw out 3 real quick?
Go for it.
Peyton Manning is definitely trending down. I don't care what you say.
How could you? Well, of course. I mean,
he cannot repeat what he did last year.
There's only one way to go once you have the greatest season of all time. I mean, come on.
I think Cam Newton's going to have a down year. And
that's fair. I mean, losing all your he has not one wide receiver that caught a pass last year stepping onto the field with him this year.
Really?
Cotchery. No, he's Cotchery.
Cotchery
had like 10 touchdowns. What? He signed
with Cotchery a Steeler?
Yeah.
No, he's saying.
Oh, I thought you meant like no professional experience.
No. No wide receiver that like caught a pass as a Panther last year.
Ironically, I think Cotchery's the only one with professional experience. That's why I jumped at that.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
You don't think he could do a Tom Brady and make
not
names
Cam
out of a bunch of no-names?
Not Cam Newton
himself.
I mean, like I said, I'm away from any established running quarterback. The more you learn the system, less you're actually going to use your legs. And then finally, Arian Foster. I think it's a down year for all of the Texans.
Yeah, funny story about him. He contemplated retirement, I heard.
No way.
Yeah, like he was close to retiring last year.
Oh, he's just trying to be the best teammate he can be.
It sounds like a first-round pick to me.
Yeah, tell me about it. My team, my oh god, no, forget about my team. That's behind me. I'm over it.
Who has the better season? This is kind of getting off topic. Who's has the better season this year, the Falcons or the Texans?
Falcons.
Done. That's it.
All right.
Motion passes.
All right.
Moving on. So my cooldown is sort of a bitter pick, but it's also, I think, a very legitimate one. And Mark, you're giggling, so I think you know where I'm going. I'm going with Deshaun Jackson.
That's not what I was thinking.
So
What?
Hold on. Did he do anything last year?
Hold on. He only had the greatest season that he ever had last year.
Please don't let this be the next sentence coming out of your mouth. He's going to cool down because he left the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, that's number one. No,
God.
for legitimate football reasons, he's going to cool down because he's going to an offense where the guy that is going to sit opposite him on the field was the most targeted receiver in football.
Sounds like there's opportunity.
Well, our RG3 has chemistry with Garcon.
Oh.
And, so I think, someone's going to have to be covered. Maybe it's Garcon because of that chemistry, and it opens up Deshaun. But the other thing to consider, I don't think that will happen. I think Deshaun's going to be the one that gets the double over the top help because of his speed. And the other thing is to consider is that this week he rolled an ankle. So, I mean, it's an injury, so he's already trending down in my mind. And for someone that relies so heavily on his speed, that's an ankle injury is never good. So
Garcon's getting old, too. Gotta keep in mind there.
Is he?
He's been in the league for a long time for a wide receiver now. Feels like it.
A little bit.
He had a bad injury, too, a couple years ago.
Yeah, he did. He bounced back nicely, though.
Yeah.
So, speaking of bouncing back, I just segued myself. Who's due for a bounce back year this year?
Usually you can't do that on air, Rob, just to let you know.
I know. Segueing for myself is
yourself.
is not good. But
I'll unsegue you 1 second and say Wes Welker won't break 550 receiving yards.
Oof.
No further elaboration.
All right.
Wow.
Next topic. So bounce back years.
Hey, wait, Garcon's injured. Update. Pierre Garcon's going to miss the first preseason game hamstring injury.
That's fair. Oh, man. One with
who's Jackson's stock is rising.
No.
Don't listen to anything I just said.
They're just trying to make you as foolish as they did the guy last year who had like 5 quarterbacks in the first round. That guy was a moron, man.
Idiot. I don't know what he was thinking.
Idiot.
But, all right, so I guess since you're all blabbering, I'm going to start with my bounce back year. I'm going to go.
I'll be quiet from here on out.
Hush the crowd.
Sorry.
I'm going with really an entire team in general. You guys sort of talked about them a couple seconds ago, but the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm sticking to their wide receiver core. Roddy and Julio, both who battled through a ton of injuries last year. Roddy only played 5 games for me and really blew up. Was the start of the collapse of my football team last year. So he is going to play more than 5 games, and like you guys were saying, he was a beast. He's a beast when he's healthy. So there's someone that's due to bounce back. And even Roddy White, he played 13 games this year or last year, and still put up like really crappy numbers. Except down the stretch, he had a really decent like 3-week stretch to close out the season, but wasn't really ever healthy. So both of those guys being healthy and just the team sort of coming into a new season fresh, I think either of those guys are due for a bounce back year, and more than likely both of them.
Where's Julio going at?
Second.
He's like the 6th wide receiver, I think.
Bottom second round, mostly.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'll go next. Sure, trending up. Same thing like you. I think that the San Diego Chargers are just ridiculous. Their stock is on the rise. I mean, I got a stat here real quick. The differences between like Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers had a fantasy point per game all-time high in his like 7 years of playing. So the Keenan Allen, it's a wide receiver on the San Diego Chargers who really started coming to his own. And I just like everything about them. Their coach took, I think, under Norv Turner, which, I mean, he's a respectable coach, don't get me wrong, but under his last year, they had like 4,756 total yards of offense and 293 first downs. Last year, under the first year of their coach, they had 6,293 total offense and 373 first downs. I think this year is the San Diego Chargers are going to be like last year's Denver Broncos.
Ooh.
Second year under a new head coach, and they just explode as far as points go, as far as fantasy points, as far as wins go. I think that they're going to be a monster. I'm not comparing Philip Rivers to Peyton Manning, but I think that he's going to have a monster year this year. So,
what do you think about Ryan Matthews? I know he's pretty divisive.
I don't like that. Especially, I'd like it a little bit more if it was no Danny Woodhead, which he gets a lot of work, surprisingly, for what the utility that he is. But yeah, Ryan Matthews' first year over 1,000 yards, I think. So let me see two more people, and then you can go. I can't pronounce this. Rashard Jennings. Yeah, he's going to be a number one back, a featured back.
Wilson gone now too.
What's that?
And Hillis got hurt.
David Wilson gone and Hillis on the way out. That's
it just leaves it wide open.
They drafted too is another good one.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck is going to have a monster year.
Cosign.
Yes,
He is
I agree.
in my bold predictions, so I'll tease you with that. But Andrew Luck, you heard it here.
All right, Maximus.
Well, yeah, this kind of went along with the sleeper picks. So I'm gonna say Emmanuel Sanders has a breakout year because he's really under everybody's radar. And you might think I'm crazy, Giovanni Bernard.
Yep, I like it.
Yep, I think he has a really good year this year for Cincy.
And that leaves Garlitz.
Man, too much agreement. I really like those last couple, so I'll have to come up with some other ones. All right, for breakout, and this is going to be hard to do since this guy just broke 1,400 receiving yards, but Alshon Jeffrey, just ride this guy. Ride that rocket straight to the moon. I see like number one overall receiving, like top receiver type potential.
Nice.
That guy is the truth.
I like it.
And actually, you should buy Chicago, no matter what. I'm bullish on the Bears.
All things Chicago.
Bullish on the Bears.
Even Cutler.
Yeah.
On the Bears.
Forte, Marshall's underrated. I still like Marshall. And for like bounce back, and God, this kills me to do it, but I'm going to do it. CJ Spiller. I'm going to dance with the devil one last time. I was fully prepared to take him with the first pick last year. And I will not quit him.
He's the worst.
He is not the worst.
I can't quit you.
In his off-season, he still managed 4.6 yards per carry, which isn't that bad considering he was like allegedly horrible. So as long as he stays healthy and gets back to his 6 yards a carry, he's doing a lot of this.
Oh, God. All right. Well, before we get to bold predictions, I wanted to do
used up all mine.
What's that?
That's so many.
I just used up all mine.
Yeah, right?
yeah, these are
before we, well, then in
I got
order
more.
to give Mark some time to think of some new bold prediction, I wanted to go ahead and flash this up on the screen real quick and sort of remind everyone how we went last year. And
This is going to be
did
bad.
our top 10 preview. This
Fire.
This is nuts. This is nuts. I did. If you look, the guy all the way to the right was the crazy idiot that went 5 quarterbacks in the first round, and that right there, that's just a joke. That's not real.
I only see one Randall Cobb up there, don't I?
You're telling me you're going to draft Cobb in the first round?
So I guess my question to you,
Get out of here.
my question to you guys is: would you change anything other than the obvious of Mark having Josh Gordon number 2, and you other guys having him 8, 7, and 8?
I'll tell you, I'd change every single pick on the list.
Mark,
But that's on me. I'm not afraid to admit that I made some horrible blunders, and I did it because I love all you out there. I did it because I cared. But no to all that.
There's no to all that.
I would
consensus across the board.
I would go McCoy, Forte, Charles, etc. You can figure out the rest.
You said earlier on that you would take McCoy overall. Didn't you argue for putting a fourth person in?
Yeah, Forte, and I ranked him second.
Okay.
If I could build a perfect team, I would swap out Bernard for Marshawn Lynch.
Let's go this way. Who had the best draft? These are all a little rough.
I think
Not
I
me,
have the best
I'll
draft.
say
I have the best draft.
What are you talking about?
Like, who stands the test of time the best?
Mine.
Me. What?
Not me.
I don't know. I think
Mine's
that's
safe.
pretty reasonable.
I think
Max's is crazy.
Nets might be the closest to what actually happens.
We all agreed that Rob and I really failed miserably.
Yeah, that's fair. And we're the most veteran on this show, so I don't know what to do about that. But maybe I got
to embracing debate.
But it's a mess. We'll just go with that. That's enough of sharing that on the screen. It's just junk. So that leaves us. Send it to the trash man, the garbage man.
I probably won't do it just because for value's sake, but I think Julio Jones is going to have a better year than AJ Green if he stays healthy.
Oh, God.
Like I said, he's a monster. I think almost Julio Jones could be the best wide receiver. It wouldn't surprise me.
After effects for the injury?
Yeah. He was that freakishly good. And he lines up against Roddy White, who takes some of the coverage off of him. So.
Yeah. Well, men, that leaves us with our last but not least bold predictions.
Bold prediction.
Bold prediction. Well, since my sleepers and breakout people have been bold predictions, my NFL bold prediction is that the Cleveland Browns end up with a better record than the Atlanta Falcons.
Boo.
Whoa.
Boo.
Wow.
Bold. This is a fantasy show, Max. You can't have a bold prediction about teams' records. What are you doing?
I did it. It's done.
Oh, my gosh. All right. To save this travesty, I'll unleash the first, which is the smaller of the two bombs out on the watchers out there. All right. Andrew Luck. Top 3 quarterbacks this year.
That's the exact thing I wrote.
Top 3 quarterbacks.
Not even bold because 2 of us say it.
If you have, here's a tip. If you have a choice between Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson, you take Andrew Luck. You take him all day.
If you have a choice between Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, you choose Andrew.
You don't do that. Don't listen to him. That's crazy
No,
talk.
let me tell you this. Okay, after Rodgers' 4th year in the league, because this will be Luck's 3rd year. But after Rodgers' 4th year in the league, Rodgers had a 40-plus touchdown season. Manning, it took him a little bit longer. It took him 5 years, and he had a 40-plus touchdown season. This is a new league with new rules, and younger quarterbacks are coming up, and they're just exploding earlier and earlier. The 3rd year for Andrew Luck, 40-plus touchdowns. He's going to be a monster.
Well, the joke's on you because Peyton Manning is the NFL's Benjamin Button. He is getting better. He'll never stop.
Say that.
10 years, he's going to get better every year because he's getting younger.
Oh, man.
All right, Mark. God, what's your bold prediction? You don't have any more because I stole it.
Jacksonville Jaguars 12-4 win AFC South.
What is this, an NFL preview?
Okay. Another bold prediction. Mark Sanchez of butt fumble fame will start more than one game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
A butt fumble.
How does that have any relevance in fantasy football,
Yeah, it does.
Mark?
Foles is a first-round prospect, apparently. And he's going to miss some time due to injury. That's what bold
Do
prediction.
Oh,
Do
my.
the Jets,
Okay, next bold
Jets don't play
prediction.
the Eagles this year, do they?
What?
With that,
The Jets don't play the Eagles this year, do
no,
they?
unfortunately.
Oh, I would love Sanchez versus Vic.
What a bold game.
Well,
And now on to legitimate predictions, even though those previous ones were my true beliefs. C.J. Spiller, top 5 running back, but I already got into that, so that's bold. Jeffrey, number 1 receiver, I already said that. That's pretty bold. Last one, I actually wrote this down so I can forget it. 3 running backs that are first-round values, Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, and Arian Foster. I predict at the end of the season only one of these 3 will be their starting running back for their team.
Wow.
that is bold.
Bold.
Another 2 will be traded to Jacksonville.
Just say that it's not Adrian Peterson. Why do you include him? You're just trying to tempt people. That's ridiculous. It's not Adrian Peterson. It's going to be Marshawn Lynch and Arian Foster.
I didn't say which ones.
All right, Rob, I can't wait for your bold one.
Last but not least, Mark sort of ruined it by going with a Sanchez prediction, but I was going to say that, and take this to mean what you will or whatever, but I think Foles comes off and has a spectacular year, and puts up better numbers than Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
That's
I
good.
agree.
Does he win the Super Bowl?
I'm not going to go there.
I'm not going to go there.
I'm not
That's a
gonna,
yes.
I'll let
He
Chris
will, and he's
You
gonna
heard
win.
it here first.
I'll let Chris Collinsworth go there for me. How about that?
Let me
got
ask you this then. When the Eagles win the Super Bowl, is Foles going to be MVP or is it going to be Macklin?
Foles.
McCoy.
Macklin.
Foles and McCoy. So
I got one more, so Rob, just let me know when you're done. Because I've been saving this one the whole time. It's all you have? Marshawn Lynch, DeMarco Murray, and Noshawn Moreno.
top 3.
No. Those are all running backs who I would choose under this running back. Doug Martin. I'm choosing Doug Martin over Murray, Lynch, and Noshawn Moreno.
Have fun. He's not.
I'm
doing
taking him.
Hey, good.
Get up all the garbage.
Go ahead.
Give it to
Damn
me.
it.
All right. Well, unless anyone else has any other bold predictions, I think that does us in for this special draft preview. The
63 points he had. 63 points he had. Not last year. He's good. He has to be good.
He's not.
He had
Brett
a
Favre
63-point game.
Will come out of retirement to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars and lead them to an AFC
oh
North
god,
South
that
title.
does it. That
Jeff
kills
Favre,
it.
Your last pick.
That kills it. That's it. That
63.
killed the show. Brett Favre's name being brought up killed this.
Hey, that's ratings. I'm giving you ratings.
We'll see what it does, but
Favre, Tebow, Skip Bayless.
let's cut it off there.
Who's more clutch?
Brett
All right,
Favre.
man.
No problem, Skip.
Thank you guys, and I guess we'll see you for week 1 soon enough.
No, wait. We should do one after draft.
After our draft?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. All right.
Goodbye.